Maitia, pozez agurtzen dut zure.
Cariño, agradezco tu llegada. Mi corazón está contento de verte. Está feliz y con todo amor voy a bailarte mi más cariñoso saludo.
Nere bihotza pilpila aurkitzen da zu ikustean. Zoriontsu eta maiteki dantzatuko deta gurri goxo eta ederrena. Maitia, pozez agurtzen dut zure torrera. Nere bihotza pilpila aurkitzen da zu ikustean. Zoriontsu eta maiteki dantzatuko deta gurriko xo eta ederrena. Urriska eta lau harinak dira bihotzez zuretzat eginak. Nere oinak nahi lukete dantzik ederrena ongi bete. Zuretzat nere maite polit paregabea. Zutagar maitasunez natorkizu eskaintzera. Murriska eta lau harinak dira bihotze zuretzat eginak. Nere oinak nahi lukete dantzik ederrena ongi bete. Zuretzat nere maite polit paregabea. Zutagar maitasunez natorkizu eskaintzera.
Your Majesty, Mr. President of the Basque Government, Minister, President of the Basque Parliament, Mayor, Delegated of the Government, Councillor, and the
así
other
como a todas las
authorities.
personas que asisten a este congreso en formato presencial y virtual, les damos la bienvenida a la sesión inaugural de la segunda edición de Zoom Bilbao, Sustainable
Zoom Bilbao Sustainable Urban Mobility Congress. It's an event that is a reference at an international level, with a second edition at Bilbao, with leaders, institutions and companies are debating on strategic aspects, exchange experiences and solutions, and cooperate to build the future from a sustainable perspective. For the organizers, Repsol, Petronor and the Bilbao Town Hall, it's a honor to count on your presence and the participation of authorities at the Spanish regional and local level from such a high level. And this is a hint, this is the proof of the commitment of the institutions, not only with the sustainable development and also with events that are going from the dialogue to the action building, the shared roadmap to build this mobility of the 21st century. That's why we are highlighting the technical capacities and the innovative solutions in order to face the challenges of the American level, promoting and fostering dialogue and the public and private alliances. The proof is the cooperation between Repsol, Petronor and the Town Hall of Bilbao. And first of all, we are going to invite to the scenery Juan María Aburto. He's the mayor of Bilbao, and he is acknowledged at an international and national level because Bilbao has undergone a very important process. So the floor is yours. Here you are, Mr. Aburto. Ladies and gentlemen, Your Majesty, authorities, Mrs. President of the Parliament, authorities, ladies and gentlemen, be very welcome to all of you. Bien, welcome to our city, to Bilbao. Bilbao is the host city of this event, and me, as the mayor of Bilbao, I would like to thank all the authorities and people who are participating in this edition, and I hope this is going to be fruitful, both in the debate and the reflections that are going to take place, and I'm positive that it is going to be like this. The quality of the citizenship is something we have to improve, and Bilbao is a reference in this field at the European level, among others in the field of the fostering of a urban sustainable mobility, and it has to keep on being a European reference in the constant work for an improvement of the quality of life of the citizens, and also through the impulse of the sustainable mobility. The 21st of February of 2019, and this seems to be very far away, the moments seem to be far apart, and how much we have suffered from that moment. Now we look at the situation with excitement and also with hope, but also with a lot of responsibility. I was saying that this day, the day 29th of February, we signed in this very place the Declaration of Bilbao in favor of urban sustainable mobility, whose main goal was really to collect or to compile the shared commitments shared by all the stakeholders that had a capacity of impact and transformation in the construction of models of urban mobility that can be more sustainable. In this way, we add 2 years ago to the efforts made in the international sphere in order to promote the global sustainable development aligned with the new urban agenda, with the goals for the sustainable development, and with the Agenda 2030. Today, those objectives are still in force, each of them and all of them, but we have considered to be necessary to recheck them and to extract new conclusions to obtain a new Bilbao Declaration that can be a reference at an international level, from the local to the international. This is the strength of the cities, and this is the strength that we want to give to Bilbao, a small city in size, but with a lot of personality, and which will always be evolving and getting transformed. The evolution, the transformation of Bilbao is not a story of the past, it is a story of the present and the future. It's a city that will always pay attention and be attentive in order to lead and in order to share all the fields of the progress of cities and countries, putting at the center of every action always people. And when I say people, I mean every person. So the first things are always people. People come first, their quality of life, their project of life, and to be able to endow them with the necessary resources so that they can live, that we live in more sustainable and healthier places. Please allow me just some reflections from the point of view of the city, the epicenter of the metropolitan city and the capital of a historical territory as it is Biscay. We are all aware that the cities are facing the big challenge of mobility, and in this way we calculate that in 2050, 2 out of 3 people are going to live in a city in the world. So people who have got a higher life expectancy, and therefore with the aging of population, aging is a success and it's not a problem. It's an issue that requires decisions from us, and we have to add also the fact that the consumption habits are changing. And then regarding the pandemics of the COVID, this has shown us that all of us need a higher dimension, a bigger dimension, more human one in our cities through a big challenge. So the mobility of people and the mobility of things in an ordered and sustainable way, and at the same time, so that the citizens can have more spaces in order to enjoy their cities. This is something that we shouldn't forget. And in Bilbao, we'll never go against anyone, not even against the cars either. But we will favor the public transport. We will favor also the pedestrians and also bicycles and the transport, the means of transport that are polluting less. We are betting on that. And this has taught us that we must have a more human dimension to all our actions, with a great challenge as it is the mobility of people and things. And we have to do this in an ordered and sustainable way, without forgetting that at the same time the citizens are demanding from us more spaces to enjoy the cities. In Bilbao, we'll never go against anything, not even against cars, but we will bet on people, on pedestrians, on the public transport, on the bicycle, and the transports of whose consumption is the less polluting. This is a bet we are making right now. All the parties of the town hall
que seguimos desarrollando con el
of the horizon of 2030. We have even anticipated this, and we have taken measures, daring measures, what have been also open to debate, which is Bilbao 30. 1 year ago, we put a speed limit of 30 kilometers per hour. We were the first city in the world to take this measure.
era reducir.
What we most interested in was to reduce the noise and the pollution of some vehicles, to reduce also the accidents and the seriousness of them, and to make a kinder environment for the city. Nowadays, many cities and institutions are observing us and researching us, and in some cases, they even give us an award. And I'm going to finish. Loyal to our style and personality, we in Bilbao, we are going to give brave and risky steps in the benefit of the quality of life of our citizens. So this SAM 21 Congress opens up the possibility for us to learn from other experiences about the good and not so good things, because of course with the crisis we learn from the mistakes and we can have new opportunities. So now and always and tomorrow, Bilbao is going to have the possibility of designing a better future for the citizens, transforming Bilbao in an epicenter of the city, creating quality spaces for the citizens and creating sustainable mobility, facing the future within the sustainability and based on the values such as solidarity. And Bilbao will have the opportunity to become the international epicenter of a better future for cities and people, gaining spaces for health and quality of life, analyzing how our mobility, the present and the future one, must be settled on the values of sustainability, healthcare, and everything. Please debate, do it well, debate a lot, and extract conclusions that can be useful to improve our quality of life, and also enjoy this city that is sheltering you with open arms, and be our ambassadors outside Bilbao, because Bilbao will always be an open city, an attractive one, entrepreneurial, and especially healthy and sustainable. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Aburto, for your words and for the initiative of the Bilbao Town Hall that you lead in order to organize this Congress in cooperation with Repsol, Petronor. Now we are going to invite to take the floor to Antonio Brufao, who's the president of Repsol.
Majestad, Your Majesty, President of the Basque Country, Minister of Mobility and Transportation, President of the Basque Parliament, Mayor of Bilbao, authorities, ladies and gentlemen. First, good day. It is a pleasure for me and for Repsol, a pleasure and an honor to take part in this opening session of this conference, to share with you some thoughts about an issue that's one of our main challenges today. The topics chosen for this conference around energy transition, governance, funding, mobility, digitalization, and innovation are nowadays the focus of the world debate that takes part in geopolitics, the public and private sector, and citizens. To cover the needs of energy and food of a world that's growing and consuming, that will have thousands of human beings by 2030, like 10,000 human beings, most of them concentrated in big cities, is the challenge that's behind the debate on decarbonization and energy transition. And within this perspective of growth and transformation, energy transition and urban development in all its dimensions should go together. We should act in a coordinated and agile way. The public sector, private sector, social stakeholders, and citizens to develop new urban models with a focus on transportation, urban transportation, with options like shared transportation, hubs and platforms for the distribution of goods, and intermodal systems for transportations, for passenger transportations. It is also about leveraging the drive of digitalization and e-commerce and use sustainable logistics of last mile. We could not forget the interconnection between technology, housing, and urban policies, because energy or multi-energy and the different energy solutions should be a common denominator for the development of smart cities and sustainable cities of the future. Sustainable urban spaces will have new models for mobility, but we also have more energy efficiency of housing, eco-sustainable use of the disadvantaged parts of the city that will incorporate new materials and models of building that will be more sustainable. It will create energy and self-consumption communities. So when we speak about energy transition and urban mobility, we're speaking about energy with an innovating view. It means thinking of energy and mobility, energy and efficient housing. It's about fostering the value of circular economy, investing in the development of green infrastructures, reduction of noise and traffic peaks with the new options of home office and remote work, also rethinking the landscaping of ports and airports. So in summary, this is about social cohesion, and social cohesion is something where we cannot forget that all these thoughts for urban energy transition must adapt to the needs of the rural areas. We should not forget that the pace of this transformation should be suitable for adapting to the pace of the industry and not bringing an excessive cost for consumers, especially the disadvantaged consumers. At Repsol, we put technology, sustainability, and industry in our focus, the focus of our strategy. They're part of our DNA, as well as in Petronor. We believe in a multi-energy, strong industry that's competitive with clear goals and where each technology can compete with others without any labels. We can only meet the challenges of the Paris deal with a coordinated and integrated action that should include all the technologies available that are cost-efficient, competitive, and scalable. And what's more important, this general picture, in order to be integrating, must be common to all regions in the world. I'd like this conference to be a clear example of how energy transition must be a clear trend supported by technology, sustainability, international industry, and social cohesion. Last, I'd like to congratulate the City Hall of Bilbao and the organizers of this conference for this initiative, for your leadership, vision, and drive, and I'd like to express our support and gratitude. Thank you very much.
Agradecemos, señor Burfaus, su intervención.
We thank Mr. Burfau for his intervention, and right now we are going to see a video that gives cities their voice, the companies, the industries, and the commitment of the organizers with the sustainable mobility of the 21st century. The Declaration of Bilbao that was signed in 2019 is the commitment that is joining the energy of institutions and companies to foster our industry and energy to the sustainable transport. Nowadays, Bilbao Declaration is the roadmap of the future of the mobility and energetic transition. We go forward on firm steps in our commitment on sustainability. We are the first big city in the world that has restricted the speed in 30 kilometers per hour, and we have been acknowledged by the European Union with the Urban Safety Award because of that. In our port, Petronor and Repsol have launched an ambitious project of generation of renewable hydrogen and a plant of manufacturing of synthetic fuel as it is defined in their DNA. We have got the duty to conquer the future. The energetic transition and the sustainable mobility are sustaining the industrial and technological capacity of the country. That's why now we have to lay the basis for this future, a future for a sustainable planet based on the commitment, quality employment and welfare for all the society. Nowadays, SUM Bilbao 2021 is focused on the energy transition, the possibilities given by the renewable hydrogen, clean energies and decarbonization. We will focus on the legal frameworks to the mitigation of the climate change. We will foster the public-private alliances, sustainable mobility, digitalization and innovation. All these things with a global vision where participants from the whole world are going to share their experiences. Soon, Bilbao 2021, the sustainable future. The cooperation, not only public and private, but also interinstitutional, is a key for the sustainable future for all the people. Representing the Spanish government, we have the presence of Raquel Sánchez, Minister of Transport, Mobility and Urban Agenda of the Government of Spain. Be very welcome.
Muy buenos días.
Good morning, everyone, Your Majesty, Basque President, Parliament President, Mayor of Bilbao, President of Repsol, President of Petronor, Government Delegate, authorities, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, everyone. And thanks for inviting me to take part in this international meeting in its second edition, which is one of the main reflection forum in the world about the future of urban mobility and also how through this urban mobility we can contribute to sustainable development. This is a challenge by the City Hall of Bilbao and by Petronor to be able to bring together international presenters from the business, from the private industry and from the social from the civil society to deal with a very important topic that affects everyone. And I humbly think that the ministry that I lead is taking a leading role in relation with transport and mobility. Those terms are not synonyms anymore because they don't refer to the same thing. Mobility goes beyond the displacement, the traveling of people or goods from one point to another point. For citizens, it has implication in their quality of life, in the environment they have around them, in the energy they use, and also in the way they develop themselves as individuals and also in the development of the cities where they live. Mobility is a right of people and also a key element for social cohesion and for economic growth. they all should have the same mobility options, no matter their sex or their social background. To achieve this, we need sustainable mobility solutions, alternatives to the use of private vehicles in any urban environment, and universal accessibility to transportation, and all this at a reasonable cost for citizens. A mobility that should be safe under any circumstances, even in situations of emergency or crisis like the ones we're going through now. It should also be efficient in order to contribute to the decarbonization of the economy by promoting alternative energy sources and non-polluting vehicles that don't have a negative impact on the health of people. And it should be smart, using technology and digital tools to manage in an efficient way infrastructures, to optimize their use and reduce the cost of their maintenance. In order to do this, it is essential to have the support and the contribution of companies in terms of innovation. I have mentioned the new role of a ministry that we have even changed our name to adapt to what I think is a change of paradigm, and a ministry that has the responsibility to lead the new policies of mobility in the whole country. In order to guarantee the right to mobility of citizens, we have launched a national strategy in cooperation with other administrations and also with the private sectors and with users. This strategy, in terms of its regulatory development, will result in the law of sustainable mobility and urban transportation that is being drafted. Sometimes I have mentioned the revolution that we will see in the way we move. In just a few years, in our countries, there will be no polluting cars. Most cars will be electric at a reasonable cost, and there will even be autonomous vehicles. So it is not a dream if I say that most trips will be done in public transportation, in shared vehicles, and also by walking or riding a bicycle. This is the future. This is the real world that we are seeing, and we wanted to make it a reality. The plan of transformation and resilient wants to make mobility, wants to devote over €1.5 billion euros from the European funds. This should result in a sustainable fleet of zero-emission vehicles in a digital environment for the management of traffic and mobility, and they should foster also the deployment of the reload and recharging infrastructure for electric vehicles. This will also foster the areas of low emissions that must be deployment according to international deals for big cities over 50,000 inhabitants. So decarbonating urban mobility in order to improve the quality of the air and our quality of air should be a boost for economic activity, as it brings many business opportunities. Many countries have already started this path. Bilbao is a very good example. This is proved by its actions to promote a more sustainable mobility, and even the organization of this very conference, which is an example of debating and sharing the progress in terms of energy transition. At the Ministry of Transportation and Urban Mobility, we want to be to foster the change, this change in the administration of the state, and also to be a bridge to the private sector so that businesses can develop their innovations without any barriers that are not needed. We will listen. We need horizontal governance, dialogue, and proactive involvement of citizens. We are all necessary. We are all central roles in this play. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Minister, for your intervention. The Basque government, from the competencies he has got in his own environment, is also launching and fostering initiatives in favor of the decarbonization and for the better future in the Basque Country. So we invite the President, Iñigo Urkullu, to come to the stage. Mr. Lehendakari, Mr. President, the floor is yours. Your Majesty, representatives, authorities, President of Resol and Petronor, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all, and thank you so much for your invitation, for organizing this important event, and for making it in a moment as relevant as this one. We are in the second edition of Zoom Bilbao, and of course, there's the start also of a new stage thanks to the joint work and to the work we have done among all of us. We have started to leave the pandemics behind, and now we are in Bilbao at a very special moment. From the 11th of March of 2020, we have been fighting against the pandemics, working all together. We have shared a strategy of cooperative governance among the public institutions. We have cooperated with the private initiative and the third social sector. We have counted on the commitment and responsibility of the society as a whole. And now we are succeeding in leaving behind this situation of healthcare emergency. We start a new time. And we have also called upon the lessons we have learned in these pandemics. It is true. And I think that it can be applied to the goal we have here today to construct sustainable mobility for the future through a shared strategy, the public-private cooperation, the commitment and social responsibility. And also this Congress is proposing different goals and objectives. And of course, the goals I have just mentioned are part of it, to have a shared strategy to transform mobility and also to join forces and cooperations between the private and public initiative, and also to achieve the commitment of the whole society, repeating the same in Spanish, so with a sustainable strategy. And we have the Basque Green Deal, and I want to highlight three goals: to locate the Basque Country as a main link of this corridor of European transport, to foster a collective transport system, and also to reach the summit of it in an intermodal way in the Basque Country. And I am highlighting this goal of this Atlantic corridor of the European transport networks for wares and goods. And I also highlight the goal of reaching this Y, this Basque Y, with the cooperation of the Basque institutions to advance in this access to the capitals according to the agreement we signed, and focusing on operations that can really contribute to the urban transformation and social cohesion. I also highlight the need of finishing the transference of the matters and services regarding railway and Basque airports according to the compliance of the Guernica Statute. Our ambition is really to fulfill the roadmap of the Basque Country in the horizon 2030, contributing to these sustainable objective goals and decreasing these greenhouse gases emissions. So this is both a shared strategy, and that's why it is very important, the industry, because industry is one of the priorities of the Basque Country, and we want to offer an industry and services that must be very advanced and that are 40% of our domestic product, and also to help those sectors that have been harmed by the pandemics. But we have always maintained our bet on favor of the industry with the cluster spirit, as we have known this month. Also, the examples of mobility, sustainability, among others. So the pandemics has made very clear the commitment of the Basque Folk, the commitment we have in order to face sustainable urban mobility, but with the individual commitment of each person. So we want to merge with the objectives of this Congress, of this international call that is making in favor of public transport, pedestrians, and use of bicycle. And we aim at the fact that both industry and advanced services can represent 40% of our gross domestic product. And on these last 18 years, apart from helping those sectors that have been more affected by the pandemic, we have maintained the support to the Basque industry with this cluster spirit, and we have seen this in the fields of the energy, health industries, and mobility, key for the future of the Basque country, for this transference to this digital and energy transformation, a priority for the Basque country in this post-pandemic time. And now I want to draw the attention of the sustainability. A private decision is the start of this sustainable mobility, and from this Congress we add to this international call for this international commitment for a more sustainable mobility, public transport, and going on foot and bicycle. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. President, for your words and for your intervention too. And in this session, in this opening session of Sustainable Urban Mobility Bilbao, and to finish this event of opening, we invite His Majesty the King to come to the stage. President of the Basque Country, Mr. President of the Basque Country, and also Minister of Mobility, Transport and Urban Agenda, Mrs. President of the Basque Parliament, Delegate of the Government in the Basque Country, Mayor of Bilbao, President of Repsol, Chairman of Petronor, authorities, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. It is a wonderful opportunity. I'm very happy to be here in this opening of the second edition of Zoom Bilbao. And I would like also to welcome to all of you who are visiting us, who are coming from other countries, and also some of us are following us through the stream, social networks.
From abroad and visit us for this occasion. I'm sure you appreciate, those of you who are here, to be physically in Bilbao, not only to be participating in this Congress, but also to enjoy all the wonders that the city of Bilbao has to offer. El Zoom Bilbao
Bilbao is a city which is really essential, indispensable in order to share ideas, experiences and commitments in favor of a sustainable mobility that allows to face really the big challenge that is represented by the climate change that is affecting all of us, that is a reason for concern for all of us, and that has to do with all of us. I want to start congratulating on the city of Bilbao, to all the organizers of this Congress and to all the sponsors and people who have cooperated with it, because with their involvement, engagement and participation are showing their firm commitment with the construction of urban sustainable models. That really is one of the big challenges this 21st century is showing us. I am talking about this huge challenge we have got ahead. Solutions are not easy. This is something obvious. And this requires really a lot of cooperation and collaboration. The cooperation of the public sector, first of all, because the competencies of mobility are shared between the autonomous community town halls and the government of the country. And they are the ones who have to set up the regulatory frameworks. Cooperation from the industrial tissue. They have to put their knowledge and technology available at the service of this goal, and also the cooperation of the social and academical world, essential in order to understand and to undertake in an intelligent way the transformation required with our patterns of mobility. So with the cooperation of all these public and private stakeholders, we must make the most as much as we can in order to minimize the effects that both in Spain and the whole world this climate crisis has got, because of solidarity, of responsibility, and because we need it. The answer or the reaction at the national and international level must be very ambitious. That's why our challenges are shared and involved also global and European commitments, and they must be one of the first priorities in the agenda of the world community. I am talking about the objectives of the sustainable development, where the mobility is playing the main role in 13 of them, or the Paris Treaty, undersigned by 187 states or countries, which is the first binding agreement on climate in order to avoid the global warming. In the European environment, the Green Deal that is going to transform our continent in a neutral one for the year 2050, and the European strategy of sustainable and intelligent mobility that urges us to reduce 90% of the emission for the year 2050 with a more inclusive and sustainable and intelligent transport, safer and flexible too. The same ambition is the one that is inspiring the Zoom Bilbao21, Zoom Bio Bilbao, an event that is an international reference that is gathering representatives of all the stakeholders and all the interests that have to do with this, and they are really searching for establishing efficient alliances at the public and private level and more respectful with the environment, being solidarious too. This implies the decarbonization of the transport and energetic efficiency, alternatives to the private cars or private vehicles whose costs can be undertaken in a reasonable way by citizens. So it means really to set priorities of transports, the least polluting one, and to make the most of the advantages technology offers to achieve an intelligent management of the different networks. In front of this challenge, which is also a technological one, quite obviously, the Spanish industry must play a main role. This is a great opportunity for our industrial, entrepreneurial, and innovative tissue. The conclusions of some studies have been really very revealing, and they say that in the year 2030, connectivity, electrification, and electrical vehicles will contribute about 15% of our gross domestic product. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have got magnificent infrastructure, not only physical but also digital. We are leaders in the launching of the 5G or in the sector of assembly and parts of the automobile sector. And we have cities such as Bilbao that are in the avant-garde, in the pioneering league of this digital and environmental transformation. So with the right approach, with the technological solutions that have already been offered regarding vehicles and infrastructure, Spain can make the most of a system of transport which is also in the first category of the hierarchy. So we cheer you up from here, from this forum, which is so appropriate in Bilbao, in Biscay, in the Basque Country, in Spain. We cheer our companies up to get engaged in this new reality of the mobility that is going to revolution the transport of passengers and wares and goods, and whose main feature is sustainability. Soon, Bilbao 2019 was the first edition of this Congress, and the continuity, as all of us know, was altered and stopped, as many other things were, by a terrible pandemic, and we trust that we can leave these pandemics behind. And I want to remember so many people that we lost, so many people that have experienced such a rough time during this 1 year and a half. But it is true that now we live a new period that is filling us with hope, but we still must be facing in a cautious way the results of that first Zoom Bilbao were reflected in the Bilbao Declaration, and as we can see in the introduction, it really makes a call upon local, international governments, institutions, companies from many sectors, academical and knowledge centers. They are really inviting them to start up with sustainable models of movement. 17 private and public entities or bodies signed it, and of course there were 10 commandments that were really very important, with dialogue, new urban planning. Criteria of productions were also determined with a minimal environmental impact. They commit themselves to make electrical mobility plans, process of research, development and researchment, the use of private data that can protect the privacy of the citizens, and also actions of social inclusion for the most vulnerable groups of the society. This is the way where we sure this soon Bilbao 21 will walk, and the success, of course, I wish you the best of the success, and I have no doubt about it. So all of us are interested, and all of us will be benefited if we can have a bigger and more quickly advance in the development of strategies of sustainable development as a part of urgent reaction to the climate crisis. Thank you so much to all of you. Thank you so much. And now it's a honor and a pleasure to officially open this new edition of the Bilbao Sustainable Urban Mobility Congress, soon Bilbao 2021.
Majestad, gracias por su...
Your Majesty, thanks for this intervention. Majesty, Basque President, Minister, Mayor, and authorities, we thank you for being here with us in this opening session of Zoom Bilbao. Now we invite authorities to see firsthand some examples based on the technical and industrial capacities of the country. Enjoy your visit.